DEM approved.
So he knew he had a problem, but he still took it out at risk.
Well, when he put the, to be,
Now, the owner of
is
the
a difference,
property
right?
is who?
Mark Andre and Cindy Andre.
And what is his age?
What is his age?
Microphone, please. Bob?
Mark, how old are you? 42.
Okay, now, I understand, I could be wrong, I'll ask you. In order for that, it must be the owner of the property for that new law that passed. Must be 62.
That is not how I read the statute, Mr. Crowe. I read the statute that the beneficiary of the accessory dwelling unit of the in-law be over the age of 62 or disabled in some other way, and that this is an accommodation for either their age or their disability.
And he has a disability.
No, he's healthy as a horse. Principal of an elementary
But his
school.
mother does.
His mother is over the age of 62. That's
Has a
right.
Disability.
No, just over the age of 62, which, as you can attest, is no disability.
Brian, how do you read this?
I would disagree a little bit with Council's explanation of the situation. When the first time I recall seeing this was, I believe, early in the summer. If this was seen in December of 2016, it was before I started here. The first time I saw plans for this proposal was when the building permit actually came before me. The state statute that allows in-law apartments by right very specifically says that the in-law apartment must maintain the single-family home feeling of the dwelling. At that point, I looked at the plans and said, this proposal is no longer maintaining a single-family home aspect. In fact, it is borderline becoming an accessory dwelling with this one little narrow connection. There's no structural connection between the two buildings. There's no expansion of the existing dwelling going on. At that point, I recommended to the applicant that they not seek to build this based on the state in-law apartment statute, but to proceed with a special use permit application under the town's original zoning ordinance, which was more broadly worded than the state law and did not require the maintenance of a single-family dwelling aspect of the structure. And that's how we got where we are now. So it's my understanding that they are here proceeding under the town's zoning ordinance for in-law apartments and not the state statute.
Mr. Chairman, well, I wouldn't disagree with what Mr. Wagner has said. It was not Mr. Wagner who provided the original guidance and the form to be recorded in the town land evidence records. I don't want to name names, but it was his predecessor, and I'm in complete agreement with that. And we have run into this problem in this circumstance before. We do some changes in the planning and zoning staff. Some folks have gotten differing sets of opinions, and you have to, the town staff, you have to live with that and proceed. So I would say that we are proceeding under the state law and the Coventry zoning ordinance. I don't know that there's another way to proceed. In the zone, you need a special use permit to build an accessory dwelling unit. And that is the way we are proceeding. I intend to present evidence that we fit under both. That is my understanding. I am late to be involved in this, but I've done my best to clarify the facts which lead us up till today. And that's how I intend to proceed. So if you would allow me to further my
Please.
presentation of...
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt for a minute? Mr. Cronin, are you doing an appeal from the decision of the zoning officer, or are you doing an application for a special use permit? There's different decision-making criteria for the two paths, and we need to know which one you are taking.
Right, agreed, Ms. Solicitor. And as we discussed, my clients, prior to my involvement, filed an application for a special use permit, and that is how I am proceeding.
So you're not appealing the decision of the zoning officer?
Not at the present time.
Okay, so the fact that, so you're not proceeding under the state law. So he denied you a use by right under the state law, correct?
Maybe. No, there's actually no written. There's no decision. I have the building permit. He signed the building permit. I guess thought about it some more. Crossed off his name.
Okay, so we're just hearing an application for a special use permit pursuant to the Coventry zoning ordinance, correct?
That is my understanding.
For an accessory family dwelling unit.
That is
right?
correct.
Section A2, not A3.
A2.
Okay.
That is what has been filed
Okay.
before this board at the current time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, as I mentioned earlier, this has been around the block a little bit, and the depiction that Mr. Wagner put up is significantly different from what we started off with. As this board is aware, we must go to Coventry Planning before we come here for a recommendation. There was some confusion at Coventry Planning with regard to whether the ordinance applied or the state law applied. And in the end, they did not give us a recommendation or didn't, no thumbs down or thumbs up. They passed the football team. They gave us a neutral recommendation. But one item that they were cognizant of and worried about was that there was formerly a door in the connecting room between the principal residence and the proposed residence. And as you can see, we have taking their input and taking that door out in an attempt to ease the pressures. And so now it's a window in the connecting room, and the entrance to the proposed unit will be through the garage of the principal structure. That's one of the items that has been modified as we moved along in this process. So, to give you the background on the Andres, Mrs. Cindy and Mark Andre live in the principal residence with their two children. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Mr. Andre's mother is recently widowed. She lives by herself. They're trying to bring her into the family situation there, and they're trying to do that by adding to their home as the addition applies. The Coventry ordinance says an accessory dwelling unit for the sole use of one or more members of a family of the occupant or occupants of the principal residence, but not needing to have a separate means of ingress or egress. And that was one of the items that the Coventry Planning Board brought up, and that is why we eliminated that door in the connecting room, so that the egress and ingress be through the principal structure. Just to clarify, Mark Andre's mother is above the age of 62. She would be the sole occupant. There's no other occupant. They have filed this statement in the land evidence record that says not only is this an accessory dwelling, but that they understand that on the cease of use of Mark Andre's mother, that it will revert to a single-family home. No further rights to an in-law or accessory dwelling will be available to them. So that has been not only their testimony, but that's been recorded in the land evidence records. So the design is such, they call it, the designers who are here call it a courtyard style design. When you pull up the driveway, you'll see the garage. The driveway will have some plantings around it, and you'll be facing the garage and the proposed addition. If you turn to the right, will be the garage and the principal structure. Behind the home is a pool, and this structure is being designed so that when Mark Andre's mom finishes her use of the structure to be used as a pool house. It has glass windows and doors on the rear which face the pool. It'll become, the place where you get the fridge and the bathroom change for the pool. It's being designed with that in mind. The design is to maintain the appearance of a single-family home. There's an internal means of passing from the addition to the existing structure through the connecting room. Attempts have been made to minimize the visible entrances and exits. The addition has been sited behind and to the side of the existing structure, so it appears visually subservient to the existing structure. The addition will use the same ingress and egress. So the driveway out to Astor Lane will be the same driveway, common driveway. No new cut on the road or anything like that. Be the same way in and out. There is adequate off-street parking. There'll be no increased exposure to light, noise, glare, or odor to any of the neighbors. The municipal services they receive will be the same. The existing structure as well as the utilities will be the same for the existing structure. The set-offs to the property line are maintained. There's no screening or buffering required. Requirements as to lot area and lot coverage are met. The residential use is compatible with surrounding neighbors in the residential zone. There's no industrial, commercial, or business use proposed. And the addition will not create conditions which will have a negative impact on the health, traffic, safety, or community.
Okay. So you're here for an accessory structure?
Accessory family dwelling unit is how it's described in both the Coventry ordinance and in the
Okay,
state
my
statute.
understanding, that's not allowed on a property less than 20 acres.
No, that's the separate unit. This is the in-law.
But as we're asking, you apply for in-law, there's two different statements here.
In-law.
So you are asking for number two, not three. Number two is accessory living quarters, in-law above.
That's correct.
That's what you're asking,
Yes.
not accessory family dwelling units.
No, as I understand it, that requires 20 acres of land.
Correct, that's what we want clarification.
Yeah.
So I thought I heard somebody say up front that we're going for,
Attorney Grisenda and I were speaking about another 2 and 3. Not-
okay,
no.
all right.
Okay, now, what zone is this now? Is this a,
This is RR2 currently, Mr. Chairman.
it might be RR2, but is this a special, I noticed, it's a residential compound? Isn't this a residential compound?
Mr. Chairman, this was designed and approved by planning and zoning as a residential compound. That is correct.
Okay, so if this is a residential compound, doesn't that require 5 acres? I mean, this whole thing seems wrong.
They're not allowed anymore under the ordinance, and it's already been approved. There's no lot changes going on.
Right, what I'm saying, of the original, so that means this individual has to maintain that road himself. All those individuals in there. I don't know if that was explained to him, residential compound. They are responsible for the maintenance of that road.
They have a homeowners association.
A homeowners association that maintains the roads. That means if the road, asphalt fails, they are responsible to maintain that.
Okay.
Okay, this is, you're not aware of it.
It wasn't really relevant to the application before.
Oh, what I'm
so
saying
it's not
also,
something that I-
and when they did that, each lot was required, that's why I'm looking at this 5 acres minimum. And I'm looking at this here, it's got 4 acres. And the reason why the residential was 5 acres, because they didn't want to put any more burden on that road. Because those people, how many 5 people there, are responsible for that road. I understand they're responsible for their own power, correct?
Like I said, Mr. Chair, this is
Who
not,
plows it now?
Mr. Andre, who plows your road currently?
I'm a contractor, I'm just not sure the relevance.
Private
That's
contract.
private contract.
It's a residential compound. They have a homeowners association who take care of the municipal services.
I think it changes the whole aspect of everything. The way this is presented to the town. It's my food for thought.
Mr. Chairman, if the board is so inclined, my clients would welcome a visit from the board, to take a look at their home and the proposed use. As you mentioned, you wouldn't need much of imagination as the foundation, permit and foundation have been installed. I think that would provide useful information.
Does a homeowner require approval from the association for this project?
Once the declarant is no longer the majority in the homeowners association, no prior approval is required.
So is that the case now?
That is the case now, yes.
So he has been in front of the homeowners association?
It is not required, that's right.
It's not required.
It is not required currently.
I'm going to disagree with your assessment that this plan is in keeping with maintaining the appearance of a single-family dwelling. It's not. It's a separate dwelling connected by basically a breezeway.
What's the square footage of this particular?
Of the proposed use,
Yes.
approximately 1,400 square feet, about 900 square feet of living space, and about 300 square feet in the single car garage. It's approximately 1/3 of the existing home, proportionally.
Mr. Crowe, did we have regulations to the size of in-law apartments also?
no, we don't. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that regulates the size of
When I
it.
got mine, it was, it must have changed. I live in an in-law apartment with my daughter. They allowed me a little extra square footage because I needed handicap accessible doors. So it made the room a little bit bigger, but not a little bit. Get it?
I'm not aware of any size requirement in either the Coventry zoning ordinance or in the state law. There's no reference
Well, then it
to
must have
square
been
footage or
because
proportionality.
When I built mine, there was a square footage, I think it was 750 square feet. And I was allowed 850 because of the doors I had. And I'm just asking.
We'll have to review it.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's changed.
Can I just ask a question about, Denise had brought up it looking like an accessory dwelling as opposed to one continuous. I look at that, there's not a second door, so to me it looks like a continuous residence, it's just a bigger residence. So is there like some kind of criteria we should be looking at that?
The town requirement does not require maintaining the appearance of a single-family residence.
Okay,
That
so,
was part of the state statute.
okay.
But that's the standard we've always worked with.
But it's not relevant anymore, right?
It is not part of the Coventry ordinance. It is not written into the Coventry ordinance. In fact, the Coventry ordinance is very minimal on what constitutes an in-law apartment. It's basically a definition, and that's it. The definition is quoted in your staff report. I believe Mr. Cronin has already read it to you as part of his presentation.
That's correct. What I read is the entire ordinance.
Can I step back a little bit? Let's talk about this plan and how it evolved as to how it is
Sure.
now. Why wasn't a plan drawn up that just connects to the house as an addition? It looks like there's some space here next to the house that could just add it on to the house, rather than make a whole structure and connect to the tunnel.
Honestly, it's architectural design. They were trying to make this courtyard style look. They were going for a certain architectural look. When you pulled up, you know, how it looked from the driveway, you know, approaching the home. You know, this is what they were shooting for. In addition to the one level aspect for the in-law. The original, you asked about the evolution. The original design had a literal breezeway.
And a what?
A literal breezeway, a covered roof, which connected the two. And, you know, as the process went on, they realized that that wasn't fitting with what they were trying to accomplish under the zoning act. And they made several revisions until we get to the one here, which does not have a visible means of ingress or egress, and helps to give that visual feel of a single-family home.
So by removing that door, they're hoping that it looks like it's part of, by having a window instead of a door, just trying to make it look like it's part of the original structure, basically, just a little bit lower.
That's correct, yes.
How are you going to access this from the main house? Where does that breezeway or hallway start from the main house?
In the principal structure, the existing structure is from the garage.
Okay.
I have a photograph of the house. I don't know, Mr. Wagner, do we have a photograph of the house currently?
Not that shows the garage, no.
Mr. Chairman, may I approach?
Garage is right there.
Sure.
I know, but that doesn't, he's not accepting
Right of the photograph. There's a three-car garage on the end of the house.
So that's not going to be, that's not going to be,
This attaches to the three-car garage.
this car, right here, it's going into this garage right here. This will not be heated.
It will be, yes, it will be heated. It's a connecting room.
Is there a door at the end of each end of that corridor, or is it opened up?
There is a door on the garage.
On the garage side.
That's correct.
But on the accessory in-law apartment, there is not a physical door, it's just an opening. Is that correct?
I don't think that, I'm not sure about that design element. Could go. There could be a door there. Probably an interior door kind of situation.
See, I think one of the problems with this design is, I believe all intentions are good, well and good, as to why this plan wants to be done. I have full faith in that the intentions are good. 10 years down the road, this house will be sold. Things can change. Now, it's a very simple matter to shut off the door and create an apartment with separate meters or whatever they want to do. I mean, it's become a separate structure. They can knock down that little pieces, down the road. I mean, it's just not part of the original structure. It's a new structure with the tunnel connected, basically.
Well, I certainly would not agree with the tunnel reference. And I can't really speculate on the illegal activities which might occur on the property
Well,
after my client sells
we
it.
have to consider what we're building, what we're allowed to be built, potentially what can happen to that. It may never happen, but there's potential.
I think there's potential in every situation for things to go not the way they're planned. But this is a solid plan, It meets the needs of Marc Andre's mom, who's going to move in there, and that's their primary concern. The design elements are also a concern, and they've done their best to meet her needs and to integrate that into a visually similar single-family home.
So if it is still a single-family home, it will only be one electric meter, the same heating system, all that?
Correct.
It'll only be, it'll have one single electric meter.
Yeah?
I'm not too sure about the heating. Do you mind if I check for a moment?
Yes.
It's supplementary, but it is
Okay.
one electric, one water, same utility.
Okay, excuse me. You're gonna have to come up to the mic.
That's right, just tell me.
Please give your full name and address.
There's no way out resisting one thing.
Okay, so the heating system will heat the addition, but there'll be a pump essentially to assist,
Yeah.
because it's far away from so one furnace,
Okay.
a circulator.
That's what I have.
I'm no plumber, but I'm gonna go with circulator.
Is there a basement under the addition or the in-law?
Yes,
There's a basement?
there's a foundation
There's
there
a
now.
foundation, okay. All right, you did say that.
Yeah, that's okay. It's, like I said, it's been around the block a little bit.
The stairs that are noted on this plan, they go up to the second floor?
They go up to the loft above the,
No, no.
I'm sorry. Hold on a moment, I'm sorry. Mr.
I'd
Andre,
like these gentlemen to step forward.
Come forward.
Testify.
where do they go?
I'm gonna ask you to give your full name and address.
Sure, Mark Andre,
Your address is?
2 Astor Lane.
Okay. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay, I got one question before. You got a proposed underground propane tank. Is that what you're using now for heating your house?
That is incorrect. No.
No?
There is one that's existing, 500 gallon, that's to heat the pool.
That's to heat the pool.
Correct.
Okay, so you're heating your house now how?
Oil.
Okay, you have to, now, the proposed addition, or how do you propose to heat that? With the same tank, oil tank, or another tank?
A supplementary furnace. So it's all one utilities.
Would you put another oil tank in?
I think I have to defer to the project manager on that one, I'm just the elementary principal.
Yeah, come on in.
I'm going to ask you to give your full name and address.
Mr. Crow, this is Mike Mott. He's the project manager. Please step up, state your name, raise your hand.
Mr. Martin, your full name and address?
Mike Martin, I live at 11A Kennedy Road in Foster.
Couldn't hear you. Duncan Road, Gloucester.
11A Kennedy Road in Foster.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board? Okay. What's your source for, I think it's going to be oil-based heat? Are you putting in a different tank?
Now, the source of the heat for the addition will be propane. We've actually installed the propane.
You're going to have an exterior tank?
The existing tank right now will service both the addition, and Mark has it going into his fireplace in his house, but not using the heat.
Is that also doing the pool?
It's doing the pool as well,
Same,
and an emergency generator as well.
Okay.
Okay, so your underground tank is going to do this structure.
Correct.
It does his existing pool,
Yes,
and also does his fire.
that's correct. And the generator.
In general, okay. His house is done with an oil tank.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, electricity, is this having its own separate electrical meter, or is it?
No, it's going to come off the main service from the house, the
Main
existing
service.
house.
So
Yes,
you're going to put
Underneath.
an additional main box in this structure?
that's correct.
Okay, now, you're going to have a full basement underneath this?
Well, it's basically the living space. So the garage is going to be slab on grade, and the living space will have, that's the stairs that you see going down. They don't go up, they go down.
So the living is going to be in the basement?
No, the living, underneath the living space is where the basement is. And it won't be finished, it's just a basement.
So the garage is here,
That's correct.
And you're gonna go down into the living space?
No, sir. No. We just allow accessibility through that stairwell to go downstairs.
The storage?
Correct. Correct.
So it's gonna be unfinished basement?
That's correct.
All right, so this is all the living space right here?
Yeah, there's approximately 950 square feet of living space. The mudroom, what you don't see there, it's not depicted as well as it should be, is there is a door from the garage that goes into the mudroom, and then a door we have, as you can see, going into the main living space. That door can be taken out, but that's the way we have it drawn right now. And we did, it was purposely done this way, set back, okay, if you will, because we were trying to get away from that linear look. And if we put the addition too close, or actually butted in to the existing structure, it would look like this linear strip mall type thing. So we wanted this to be subservient to the main house. We set it back about 8 or 10 feet, which now, made us put the mudroom in. That's the reasoning behind that. It was purposely done.
Now, when they access the structure from the garage side,
Yes,
so the garage is on a slab, so she'll enter at level into her living space?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's a second floor?
No, there's not. We basically, we put that, maybe Brian, you can switch to the rendering. We added that, basically, that look above the garage doors is, again, it's aesthetics. We didn't want this linear piece of building structure attached to the existing structure. So we created that.
Is there, what's,
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's